Okay, now I am calling the next guest, Akeem Browder, who is the brother of Kalief Browder.
Hello?
Akeem?
Yes, it's Akeem.
Hi, Akeem. It's Catherine Waters from the People's Internet Radio.
Yes, hi, Kat.
I told you 8 o'clock. I did, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm available.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I thought for 1 second I had, did I tell you 7 p.m. instead of 8 p.m.?
No.
Oh, phew.
No, you told me 8.
Okay, great. So, you are the brother of Kalief Browder, who, I will let you tell the people what happened to your brother.
All right. Well, are we on now?
Yep. This is in light of the recent, you were out last Thursday for the protest against the killing of Alton Sterling, Philando Castile, and Delron Smalls, who just had a funeral yesterday.
Yes, exactly.
Trying to bring awareness. You were there. You were very vocal at this event, which is why I thought you would be somebody good to speak about the 3 shootings that happened last week.
It's such a tragedy. Obviously, I bet no one in their right mind could sit around and say that it doesn't affect them in one way or another. My brother's story is, just to give insight, Kalief, I'm sure a lot of people have heard it, Kalief Browder. My throat is a little strained because going to these rallies, I was throwing my voice. But Kalief, he was a 16-year-old boy who, or teenager, who, coming home from a party that my mother let him go to, which was actually his first time allowed to leave to go to a party at night. We definitely weren't raised on the streets, or for that matter, we weren't out of our parents' control by any means. So my mom at 16 let him finally go to a birthday party that she gave him a curfew, and on his way back home, he was stopped by the precinct in my mom's area, which I believe it's I don't even know what precinct it is. That being said, they stopped him, not really because it was a backpack. In all findings after, I don't even think it was for a backpack. I just believe that it was officers saw 2 black kids out at night, and they decided to accost them. And the story that they made up that was never proven in the long run was that they fit the description of someone that complained of their backpack being robbed recently in that same day. And later on, they changed their story to take 2 days ago, or 2 days ago from that date. And then they changed the story in the precinct before the arraignment to 2 weeks ago. So they couldn't even keep their story up in the first place. And then to hold Kalief after no evidence being found, no backpack in possession, and literally just off a so-called person's word, which, like I said, they've never even manifested that person. They said that person that they kept on waiting for 3 years ended up being deported. So, that right there sounds felonious and made up. And so when they released Kalief, he came home with no help, no mental health. My family didn't know what to do with someone coming out of jail who just been tortured.
Yeah.
It's not, no family should experience that, but no person could probably understand what to do after something like that happened. And so the mental health condition of him coming home wasn't treated, and nonetheless, while he was there, it wasn't treated. So they failed him in so many ways. I mean, the New York City Police Department failed him just by stopping him just because he was a black kid on the street after dark without a parent. And then the justice system failed him by holding him, allowing the courts to misuse him by bringing him back and forth to court 39 times. I mean, just to see the same child or a same teenager, a young adult, 39 times and nothing ever happening for 3 years. No, I mean, even after his speedy trial motion was put in, it's ludicrous how any one judge could see his case and say, you know what, I'm going to continue to let this happen.
It's just,
no one decided to stop it.
Right. It's, it's just another day on the job to them.
Yeah. I mean, it's completely dehumanizing, not only to the person that's in the jail, but to all the people that's a part of it. Because as I told a lot of people, I used to work for the Department of Corrections as an engineer. And I quit that job. I didn't get fired. I didn't decide, you know what, I want to retire. No, I quit that job because after seeing nonstop, I had a hard time going to work in the morning whenever I worked on Rikers Island, because I worked for the Department of Corrections, so I wasn't only on Rikers. I was in Brooklyn House, Manhattan House, the Tombs. So whenever I went on Rikers, it was the most degrading to see someone at 5 o'clock in the morning or one of the detainees on Rikers playing basketball 5 o'clock in the morning with big heavy jackets on in the fog, in that dense, disgusting, toxic fog. I mean, just even the living conditions on Rikers Island is disgusting and decrepit. The toxicity from the fumes is what people have attested to the direct cause of their cancer, their lung cancer. I mean, we've interviewed people at the campaign to shut down Rikers. We interview people and we speak to them and take their testimony down. We record them and do it and make like their video so it could be told to the public. And people have attested to on their doctor's reports showing, and this is not inmates. These are correctional officers that's worked there for 25 plus years or 20 plus years, and their doctor's reports show direct reason why they have lung cancer is directly due to the toxic emissions on Rikers. So imagine if a person's living there for 3 years or 6 years, like Anna, her son, Giaro.
Right. Yeah, talk a little. That woman, she spoke. At because your brother's, I believe, birthday, or no, the anniversary passed.
Yeah, she spoke at the anniversary of my brother's. We did in the campaign, and collective groups helped do a vigil for Kalief's birthday. It was more of a celebration of his birth. So that day was in front of the courthouse that kept on seeing him in the Bronx, the criminal courthouse. That kept on seeing him 39 times without having a shred of humanity to say that, you know what, enough is enough. But we did a vigil out there, and Anna spoke. And, I mean, she actually, no. This was, I have it wrong. I'm sorry. She came to the anniversary of his death, that he took his life.
Right.
So I'm mistaken. I'm sorry. But, yeah, she spoke at his anniversary of the day he passed. And, I mean, she has a direct relation to Rikers and an affinity with it because her son, who just like my brother, although he's there at a longer period of time, which is 6 years and 8 months. 6 years and 8 months, basically in a fight for your life situation. I mean, he wasn't in solitary confinement, but whether in solitary confinement or in general population, it's considered a gladiator school. Can you imagine, or can any of the people imagine how it feels to fight for your life, the trauma that your body being tense all day long, every day. Even when you sleep, you can't get peace because someone's throwing piss in your cell because officers don't like you, and so they'll allow an inmate or detainee to come out of their cell to throw a cup of piss water in your cell. I mean, I've experienced it myself, being that I worked there and that I was a resident there when I was a kid. And so this torture doesn't just happen in one scenario. This is not an isolated event, as I say in a lot of the rallies. This is not an isolated event. This happens more often than not. I mean, every day there's someone being tortured on Rikers. And it's facilitated by the guards.
And your brother spent 2 years in solitary confinement. Which is
incredible, because the statement from the department or the defense, I forgot what's the statistic is for 8 hours of solitary confinement is enough to cause damage to a person's psyche. I'm hearing feedback, just so you know.
Let me see.
Like I'm hearing myself repeated.
Yeah, that's annoying. Do you want me to try to call you back?
Let's see if it's still repeating. Yep.
Okay, I'll call you right back.
Okay, no problem. Sorry.
It's okay. Let me call him back. Bear with me while I call Akeem Browder back.
Hello?
Akeem?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Let me know if I changed my method of calling you, so hopefully this will solve the back feed problem. But
yep.
So yeah, talk about the effects, right? And at the anniversary of your brother's death, right? I believe it was June the 6th thereabouts. When that?
No, it's June the 5th.
Oh, right, at Columbus Circle, and you were speaking, and other people, I believe, Akeem Roberts was also speaking about what it does to a young mind, 16, 17, you're developing. Talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, Akeem Roberts is another person, just like a lot of people in New York who experience. I mean, you can't really speak to people in New York who's never heard of Rikers Island. That's how notorious it is. Rikers Island has physical, mental, and emotional effects, long-lasting effects, well after you've left that island, whether you're a visitor or a detainee. That effect, sometimes for the inmate, I mean the detainee that's there, the detainee suffers even the smell of being on Rikers is putrid. I mean, for you to hear and not have heard of Rikers, you must be a foreigner here. But maybe you may not have visited Rikers, but to drive over that bridge going into the island of that's Rikers Island, the smell is putrid. Yet detainees are living there, and workers are working there every day. So just the smell alone, but then it's nowhere near clean. I mean, the cleanliness of Rikers is they throw bleach everywhere. They mop the floor and they don't dilute it. They mop the floors with bleach. So that smell lasted with me years after. I mean, up until probably 30 years old. Meanwhile, I went into Rikers as a 15-year-old boy. 15. Not even legally entered into Rikers. As a 15-year-old boy, I was on Rikers. And the smell stayed with me up until just recently. I mean, and it still hasn't went away. It's whenever I go to Rikers or even think of even being in a cell, that smell comes back right away. Even the sounds of the keys, because you're in a cell, like a caged animal. So imagine you being in a cell and it's small and it's cold. And the only thing, if you're waiting in what they call the bullpen, there aren't mattresses to lay down on, and it's overpacked. So to be in that kind of atmosphere, they don't put mattresses, they don't put cushion chairs. No, it's cinder block or cement block. So you're laying on something hard to try and get rest because you're there for however months. You're going to be there for how many, either years or months. So your body wants to adjust and get some sleep. So it has to adjust to a concrete, smelly, urine-smelled, mixed with bleach environment where roaches are running right past you. Someone that doesn't want their sandwich that's some concoction of salami that shouldn't even be given to any human being. It's probably what the inmates, or I keep on saying inmates, but with the detainees that I call them, the detainees that give us that are fed these sandwiches, amongst them, they think that this is the pigeons that's on Rikers Island or the geese that's on Rikers that they kill. This is like a running joke to the detainees on Rikers that's the pigeons, the geese that fly above Rikers Island, because it's not even real salami. Sometimes it's green. Oh. Sometimes it's the smell is so strong you don't even want to eat it, and then they give you on some stale bread, and it's the same thing all the time. Even the peanut butter and jelly. So they give you two options. It's either peanut butter and jelly. Oh my God. Yet the peanut butter and jelly, I know that for a fact that they found that they put bleach water in the peanut butter and jelly. Oh my God. The inmates would put bleach water that they clean the floor with in the peanut butter and jelly mix and mix it and give it to inmates or to detainees coming into Rikers Island to traumatize them. But say it's not the peanut, huh?
Sorry, your brother was never charged.
Yes, I mean, I'm sorry to keep on going on.
No.
I want to give the people the
full description. I hear
the full effect of Rikers Island. But I mean, my brother, just to say not to say the least of his story, but he was not charged. He was charged with the crime of robbery, the alleged crime of robbery. He was never convicted. So we do have to change the atmosphere or the environment of our society when it comes to vocabulary. Right. Because we use these words interchangeably. First of all, let me educate the public for a second. Rikers is a jail, not a prison. So but it operates as a jail, meaning, one, in the public's perception, you think the person is in prison because we just use the word prison and jail interchangeably. A jail is for people that are not sentenced, and yet they're innocent until proven guilty. So when we speak to the public, when we do tablings, and they say to me on a more often than not basis, 9 times out of 10, the person question to if you want to shut down Rikers, where we're going to put the criminals. Well, if right now I'm in front of anyone that questions that, I could be in front of you right now and call the police on a false allegation or true allegation saying that you robbed me, smacked me, punched me, something assaulted me. The cops will come and arrest you and put you in a jail like Rikers. And you will be there, not convicted, guilty. You didn't take a plea. You didn't go to trial. You're there waiting to be proven guilty or to have your innocence found out. And so, no, we're not saying we want to shut down Rikers and let the criminals loose. Although, when you say criminals, please do remember that by being in a torture chamber like Rikers, where they neglect to feed you like they neglected to feed Kalief, my 16-year-old brother, they neglected to feed him. That causes a person to want to get the hell out of there. I mean, why would you want to be in a place and you're losing weight? Kalief was 130 pounds when I saw him one day in a visiting room. 130 pounds. He looked so skinny, and he's only 5'5". Yep. And so, not being fed, and then they beat him I mean, there's videos to prove that. And I mean, if you consider the terminology that it's a gladiator school, you can't think less than that somebody is getting beat on Rikers. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's fine. I brought up the article that I did on that anniversary action at Columbus Circle, where the supporters were holding facts about Rikers Island, and I just see this one picture that I took of Sandeep Kandari of the Legal Aid Society holding a sign with fact number 2 that reads 79% of those incarcerated on Rikers Island are there because they cannot afford to post the bail, making poverty a crime.
Exactly. And I'm happy that, because we have 7 reasons why 7 reasons to shut down Rikers. Here at the Campaign to Shut Down Rikers, we embellish on the thought that on all the facts that needs to be known by the public, which it's no doubt about it that one, just like as you read, to make being not fully, like, you can't, 79% of the population can't afford bail, so that's why they're there. And I believe that's number 2 of our facts, of our 7 reasons to shut down Rikers. Although number 1 is the most evident reason, which is Rikers is racist. 90% of the people held on Rikers are black or Latino or Latina. So just because our facts are highlighting, you can find these facts out on it's doc.gov. You can look at the statistics. It's public information. So we're bringing public information to the people since they don't go online and look up this statistical analysis information. But number 2, like you read, Rikers punishes poor people. So now there's a crime against poor people. If you're homeless, they have a new crime. They have a new move along law where the officers directly target, because people in Manhattan don't want to see homeless people on their block. They want to be sheltered from the reality that they're moving into our neighborhoods, increasing the value of everything, not just rent, but even food. I mean, there was an article published a few weeks ago from Food Insider that they talked about a Philly cheesesteak, and they said it's a chopped cheese. And the price for them that they went to get this chopped cheese, which in the so-called poor communities, in these poor communities, it's $2.50. Meanwhile, they're paying $4 for it. So now it's raising our even cheap food. They're completely destroying our economy. So number 2 about them punishing poor people is a fact. Now that they can't be on the streets because they don't have a home, because they couldn't afford a home, now they're being sent to jail. Number 3 of our reasons is Rikers breeds physical and sexual violence. And this is a fact because in 2014, we took the statistics that Rikers use physical force over 4,000 times. Sexual victimization occurring on Rikers is reported 3 times as much as the national average. So just Rikers alone has 3 times more than the national average when it comes to jails. These statistics are crazy.
I just wanted to point out, kind of an obvious sort of fact that, prison, policing, the so-called justice system is not about trying to help raise people up. I mean, just the fact that being in these kinds of conditions, just shows, not to mention, I always like to bring up the for-profit prison system because I can't even believe that we live in a country that allows corporations like the Correctional Corporation of America.
ENCO.
Right. CCA is the one that I'm most familiar with. So, I mean, what kind of a country are we living in? So, clearly, there is no... because who's going to make money off of raising people up? Who's going to make money off of rehabilitating people? No. Like I was just expressing in the previous hour with the first guest, that we live in a death economy. Money equals debt. So it's all about profiting off of the miseries of the most vulnerable and creating, like nobody is getting to the source of any of these problems. No one is looking to turn any of these situations around because they're too busy profiting off of them.
Well, Kat, I gotta say, the only thing that can come from such a decrepit, distasteful, and dishonest system, the only thing that can come that's favorable to the people who are being abused and misused by the system is a complete revolution. And I'm sorry for the listeners that feel like that's harsh or such an extreme action. However, ever since before Martin Luther King, but ever since Martin Luther King, we've been crying. I mean, there's a scenario that I want to give to the people that Tupac Shakur had said, which is, hunger has been striking people for ages, and only the profitables survive this. But when it comes to the hungry, the people of America that's hungry, we've actually cried. And we cried and cried, and no one hears our cries. We go from crying to asking on the streets, begging. And the scraps that people are given or the answers that people are given or the heads that's turned, nothing's being changed. So you go from crying to begging, asking, and then, they're up in your face now. Now they're going into your stores. Some of them are stealing because they need to eat. Right. So through time, we're transgressing or we're transitioning from asking, begging, crying to now moving up and pickpocketing or stealing. What do you expect to happen when you put people in their backs against the wall? I mean, it's just science that there's a fight or flight mechanism that happens to every human being, even animals. So when we're put in a position where we either have to fight or flight, right, we're going to do what's best for us, or we're going to try to do what's best for us. But fight or flight happens when your body just says, I can't take it anymore. So in that situation where someone's hungry, they can't take it anymore. The stomach cramps are hurting. So they're going to go into a restaurant, eat, and not pay the bill and run out, or steal, or break into your house. So America, stop being scared that someone's running in your house trying to take what you got. You know why? Because they don't have enough. Exactly. We don't have enough, and we're built off this economical system that's not favorable to people who can't make it. And it's not that they don't want to make it. Some people want to have a lucrative job. Some people want to have something to be prideful of and say, look, I came home and I went from going to work and I made this check, and let me put this check on my family's table so that my wife can feed our kids and our family, or my brothers and sisters. However, when you dehumanize them and make them animals and consider them less than animals by saying that they're felons, well, when they can't get a job, what do you think they're going to do?
Well, they
can't get a job.
Yeah.
Huh?
It's all by design. I mean, I believe that this is exactly what the system is designed to do, is to push people to up against the wall, force people to react, so that then they can turn around and call you a criminal. I mean, it's just all about just constantly generating, profit, fake profit, not real profit. I always have to feel like I need to make that distinction because, people throw the word profit and how corporations are benefiting and all this stuff. It's like corporations are not benefiting. Real benefit is humanity and the planet. Real profit is humanity and the planet. So when people...
But people are so far from... I'm sorry to cut you off. People are so far from the thought that humanity anything, because the society that we live in today is stay with a trend. I don't know if this is if this is proper to say, but people are followers, and the government knows that. I mean, the rulers of society, of our government, knows that the people will follow if you give them something to follow, instead of being leaders. I always tell the felons or the people that have criminal records, I tell them, well, now you're free. Now you're free from being a part of society because you now have the opportunity to be an entrepreneur. I mean, I myself, I'm a felon. I have a felony. And it's true indeed that it's hard to get a job. So then I started thinking, wait a minute, why the hell do I want a job from someone that won't give me proper pay or that won't give me the chance because I have a felony? And so when I talk to when I talk to people, I let them know, listen, brother or sister, whoever, you have a felony, you are now free because you know nobody's going to want to give you a job because you just came home from jail and your felony is fresh. So now you're free to open up your own business. Stop being under the man. But people need to stop following trends, because trends tell us that, you know what, there's more. Trends tell us that there's more women than men that's raising that single parents. When in the statistics of America, there's more men than women raising kids. I mean, there's more single men, single fathers, as opposed to single mothers. So we got to stop looking at the trends like, you know what, because the government controls social media. They let us put out, they're targeting certain people so that we don't speak what we want to speak. So the only things you're reading on the news is something that's beneficial or that the government wants to tailor so that you can see on the news. Right. Or on social media. So yeah. The government is the beneficiary, but it's not, like you said, it's not helpful to the public, to the people, to humanity. Look at the fish our sea life is dying. Yeah. We don't have that much time on this earth the way that we're living.
Yeah. What I wanted to just make the point of what worries me is that there's so many people, you know, the public who jumps on the bandwagon and right away defends the powers that be, defends cops, defends the system all the time, and will automatically turn on the most vulnerable and scapegoat the most vulnerable. And people need, because that's automatic. That's like automatically built into people. And if people don't start paying attention and really being aware of that and starting to turn that around and start pointing fingers more and challenge, you know, because it's difficult. Nobody wants to do what's difficult. They do what's easy.
Yes, exactly.
So they beat up, that's the way this system, it's a bullying system. It's a predatory system. And most people keep it going.
I'd like to hear what people, like, there's going to be so many comments in regards to what you're saying because it's hard to hear what you're saying, but it's true. What you're saying is absolutely true. People need to realize that when we built the system of, when the police were put in power, they were meant to protect the corporations of America, the wealthy. They weren't meant to protect us. So when they die, first of all, we're directly on air with me, who I served in the military, and if I were to die at war or while on duty, I wore that uniform so that I could protect America from all threats, foreign and domestic. So if I died, I wouldn't expect people to cry. I put on that uniform for the purpose of defense, just like a teacher. I mean, you put on a uniform for that purpose. So an officer, if he or she dies, I'm not saying, you know what, don't mourn them, but you know what? As of January this year until July, there's 596 people who have lost their lives by police. Yep. When we lost these 5 officers just recently in Dallas, everyone's woe is officers. Well, guess what? 5 compared to 596 people. Some people say 600, but statistically, I think the number is 596. And that's an overwhelming amount to then overshadow it with 5 officers that were killed. To top it off, no one even listened to the story, which I question all the time, which is, I started asking people on Facebook and social media, why don't you question the story that they gave you instead of believing everything they told you, which is they blew the man up who did the shootings, who was military. They blew him up with C4 from a robot. Well, think about it. C4, a stick of C4, a pound of C4 can take out a New York City block. Where's the damage done to the property of this, where they blew up this man? The helicopters showed the area. There wasn't even blood splatter. The people of Dallas didn't report that there's damage from a pound of C4 being used. But people just sucked up that story. Right. Just like they sucked up the Orlando, Florida story about the people at the Pulse nightclub, where, of course, there was murder. It was murder. It was not suicide. It wasn't. No, it was murder. But when the report came out, they said that this one man killed all these people. But then when they did the investigation, the ballistics came back that at 5 o'clock is when the people were being killed. At 5 o'clock is when SWAT came in. So if SWAT came in and then the ballistics that's found in these bodies were from SWAT, they literally said that the bullets that were found from the guy who did the shooting, the so-called terrorist, they said that person, the ballistics from his bullets, his gun, were found lodged into people's legs and arms. But the ones that actually did the killing were from SWAT. Just like they did with Catherine Johnston, they shot 39 times at this 92-year-old woman and killed her.
So yeah, I didn't hear about that. So you're saying the bullets found in the victims in Pulse were from SWAT and not Omar Mateen?
They said the guy entered into the nightclub at 2 o'clock. This is just their reports. So I questioned their reports because I think to myself, first of all, they said that there were over 1,000 rounds shot from that one guy. So if we did the math, first of all, me being in the military, I know a clip for him to carry over 1,000 rounds of ammunition. This guy had to be very strong. First of all, let's just face it. A clip holds 15 rounds, unless he had an extended clip. But then it also bears weight. So for someone to carry that much ammunition, plus his AK-47, or I believe it was AK, there was multiple reports saying he had an AK-47. Some of them said a different gun. But for him to carry this much ammunition plus his shotgun or whatever gun he used, this guy must have been strong. Yet when we look at the person in question, nobody could carry that much rounds. But then they said by 5 o'clock is when the shooting started taking place, and that's when SWAT came. The same time that the murders were taking place is when SWAT had arrived. And then they did the ballistics on the bullets found lodged in the people's bodies, in the deaths of these people, and they were SWAT bullets.
Yeah, that's pretty eye-opening. People
just latched on to the story of this terrorist because, Islamophobia is real. Just like homophobia is real. Right. Just like people are anti-gay.
Yeah, we only have a couple of minutes left, Akeem. I gotta play some of my interview with Matthew Fogg, the retired U.S. Marshal, speaking about racism in the police department. So let's see. I know that there's so much to talk about, and we didn't even get to speak about the stuff. We had a good conversation on the phone the other day about, family and the breakdown of the family, which is what I've been, I just want
to say something real quick.
Yeah,
I don't want to make anything wrong. I was talking with my mother today, and I brought it out to her that, because she does, a lot of people in New York, if you're not political, if you're not in the news, or if you're not reading up on things, you don't know what's going on. So my mom, who doesn't know what's going on in the city that she lives in, and just goes according to the regular news that's told. She didn't know that New York City is one of the highest rate of teenage homelessness right now, which we call, or parents call the police on their kids, which I hope they stop. Take effort into understanding what your kids are going through. The family is the most key part into raising your children. When you call the police, you are entering a foreign entity that does not care about you.
That's right. They're
especially
looking to prey.
If you're black and Hispanic.
Yep.
And when that happens and you enter into this foreign realm, which you don't know anything about, but you think that the police are there to help you, just like Kalief, he didn't know. I mean, his mind at 16 only knew, because we weren't running the streets, he only knew that police equates to help. That's the thought, that police help you. Yet when he's in jail, he was telling me on one of the visits, how come they letting this happen? How come they let this happen when they're supposed to be here to protect me? I was calling one of the guards when they were fighting, when they were trying to extort me from my commissary, and none of the guard told him to toughen up. He's in jail. So
it's very disorienting to the nervous system.
And that atmosphere is being brought into your households, people. It's brought into your households when you call the cops against your 16-year-old kid who's out of hand, and then they take him to jail, and then the judge orders a full order for protection. A full order of protection, so that kid is now no longer allowed to be in the house that he or she knows. And so the judge has to then send them to the homeless shelter on 42nd Street in Manhattan, whether he's from Brooklyn or Manhattan, or Brooklyn or the Bronx or Queens. So they go to the shelter that holds only 500 kids, yet these beds are full. So that means there's 500 plus people or teenagers on the streets. And then they get arrested because they're sleeping on the train or sleeping in the park because now they're homeless.
Exactly. They create the conditions that creates people to be the way that they are, and then criminalizes them for being that. I know. I've been
totally sickening.
I know it's horrible, but I would definitely love to talk more, and I hope you can come back again. Akeem Browder, the brother of Kalief Browder. There's 2 New Yorker articles about your brother. One is called Rikers Island taught him how to commit suicide.
Yes.
So thank you, and I guess I will see you out on the streets.
Yes, and for those, and just real quick, Campaign to Shut Down Rikers is a grassroots organization, a grassroots coalition of people just like us who want to do something different or to help the city understand that we won't stand for anymore. It's time for a change, and that change is now. We can't wait till next year when then the number of deaths is 1,000.
Exactly. How many more deaths? The evidence doesn't.
Thank you, Kat, for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you, Akeem. Have a great night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.